And tonight, makikilala natin kung sino ang may hawak ng bola ng responsibilidad at pamumuno at pagpapaunlad ng lungsod ng San Juan. Walang iba, Mayor Francis Zamora. Good evening, Mayor Francis.
Good evening, Nico, and thank you for visiting me here in my office.
Welcome to the chat room.
Thank you.
Sir, before we get into the more serious topics, we'd like to get to know you up close and personal, if that's okay.
Okay, sure.
Sir, Mayor, at first glance pa lang, the first thing that anybody will notice about you is your height. And you were a former basketball player. When did you start and how did that all happen? Naging basketball player ka?
Yeah, well, I started when I was in grade 6, officially playing for LaSalle Green Hills for the midgets basketball team. Although I started playing around grade 4, but I was able to get into the team grade 6. And I moved on to the high school varsity basketball team, and then eventually I played for De La Salle University. We won 2 AP championships in 1998 and 1999. I was team captain of the back-to-back championship teams, and eventually I played also for the PBL. If you are familiar with the well-combed paints, they are now rain or shine in the PBA. So I was able to win 2 championships with them also. I played also for a couple of other PBL teams. I played for Blue Detergent and Montana Jewels and eventually ICTSI LaSalle. In 2001, I was drafted into the PBA by the Santa Lucia Realtors under Coach Norman Black. But unfortunately, I was not signed to a contract. So I went back to the PBL. And I was given the biggest break of my basketball career by then Coach Leo Isaac. He made me play my game, and I was playing the best basketball of my life. I was averaging a double-double by halftime, 15 points, 15 rebounds.
By halftime pa lang?
So these are things that I was never able to do in the previous teams I played in before. So all of a sudden, I get a call from Coach Ryan Gregorio, and he was asking me if I had an escape clause from my contract because they wanted to sign me up for Pure Foods. And I really thought that, wow, this is the opportunity. This is what I've been waiting for because ever since I was young, I dreamt of being a PBA player. But honestly, I could not leave Coach Leo because he was the one who gave me a break.
Right.
So I made the decision to stay with my team, but I guess sometimes fate has it that things don't happen your way. After 1 week, they replaced Coach Leo Isaac, and all of a sudden the new coach brought in new players, and I was out of the usual rotation. So I called Coach Ryan 1 week after. I asked him if the offer was still there, and they said they'd signed up someone else already. So I guess it's not my destiny to become a PBA player. So in a nutshell, that's my basketball story.
God's plan, di ba, Mayor?
God's plan, yeah. And maybe if I had played in the PBA for a few years, I may not be here as Mayor of San Juan. So.
Oo nga. Mayor, just like to ask, at bilang estudyante, Mayor, how were you? And how were you able to balance yung basketball career niyo po, tsaka yung pagiging estudyante?
Well, I'm proud to say I was a consistent honor student back when I was still studying. So I was able to balance academics and sports. Alam niyo naman siguro, ang aking ama ay bar top notcher. Nag-number 1 siya sa 1969 bar exam. So alam mo yung ini-instill na values sa amin, na aming mga kapatid, nung bata pa kami, is always to really study hard because whatever future we would want when we grow up, it will really depend on how educated you are. And it's a big factor, and it's something that I'm thankful for, that my parents brought me up with good education. Kasi hindi naman pwedeng pagdating mo siyempre sa puntong as a mayor, iba yung alam mong nakapag-aral ka. Because meron din talagang balance dapat yung education at the same time yung practical life experience. But having a solid education background is always an advantage.
Ano pa yung perspective nyo dati nung politika?
Actually, I grew up with this life. My father was first elected in 1978. I was 1 year old then. Ang unang kampanya na nasalihan ko, which I remember vividly up to now, was in 1984. I was 6 years old. Sumasama na ako sa kampanya. Ganon din yung 1987, 1992, 1995. So I was your typical little boy going with the father, going around the barangays. So malaking bagay sa akin kasi at a very early age, na-expose na ako. But if you ask me, did I ever want to become a mayor? No, the answer is no. Kasi ang pangarap ko talaga nun, umabot sa PBA. Yes, I was campaigning for my father, but not for an objective of being elected. It was really just, gusto ko siyang supportahan. At nung umabot na ako sa point that I was already practicing every day sa basketball, playing, the basketball schedule is very tight. Hindi na ako nakapag-campaign for him, so medyo nawala ako sa circle ng politika, kumbaga, because I was focusing on my basketball career. But after I retired, technically, when I retired from basketball, in 2004, during his campaign for congressman, I started going around again with him. And this is what ignited my passion.
Okay.
Nung nakita kong gusto ko to, alam ko may matutulong ako sa San Juan. And that's where I started. So I campaigned in 2004, and immediately after that campaign, I told them, I want to run for councilor in 2007. So that's where I started preparing. I finished my master's in public administration in 2006 in UP. So, because I wanted to come in, hindi lang dahil anak ka ni Congressman Zamora, pero dapat may sarili kang credentials. No? After graduating from De La Salle University, I also finished business and entrepreneurship in New York University in 2003. And prior to running for mayor, I went to the John F. Kennedy School of Government in Harvard for an executive education program. So again, yun nga, yung education talaga, it's something that I have always given importance to ever since I was young.
Sir, you mentioned 2004 was the turning point for when you wanted to enter into politics.
Correct.
Now, coming into this mayorship, where did you get the guts to go against yung political dynasty or the political family of the Ejército Estrada?
Ang tawagan ni President Duterte sa akin, the Giant Slayer. He fondly calls me that. Ito, si Mayor Zamora, itong Giant Slayer.
Who's also a giant.
Our families, yung Zamoras and Estradas, we have had a long history of friendship, yung families namin. But I guess it came to a point na, kasi umabot sila ng 49 years.
Grabe.
Sipin mo,
49 years, half a
ako,
century.
44 pala ako. Sipin mo, nung pinanganak ako, sila na. Hanggang nung lumaki na ako, sila pa rin. No? So, para sa akin, 49 years is, my gosh, it's a lifetime for some people. At naging counselor ako, naging vice mayor ako sa ilalim ng administrasyon nila. At nakita ko marami mga dapat baguhin. No? I honestly saw, for myself when I was there, that there's a lot of things that needed to be changed in San Juan. Wala naman akong masyadong magawa kasi if you're a counselor, if you're a vice mayor, limited yung capacity mo. Diba, gustuhin mo man baguhin yung ibang bagay, pero hindi mo magagawa. So, nagkaroon din kami ng, siguro, if I would describe it, a little falling out ng Estrada family. Although I was very close to Mayor Gia, but I guess yung pagiging close ko kay Mayor Gia, hindi nagustuhan ng Estrada family members because I knew naman that they wanted their next generation to to succeed them. No? Sa pagkatapos ng dating Pangulo, naging mayor yung mga senador ngayon, tapos naging mayor si Mayor Gia. Of course, they wanted their children and grandchildren to succeed there.
Right, of course.
But the people of San Juan had something else in mind. No? And nandito na tayo. So, I didn't make it in 2016. Naglabang kami ni Mayor Gia. I lost by 1,000 votes. That's only a 2% gap, especially because isipin nyo, incumbent sila. They had all the advantages, yung City Hall, yung barangay, yung police, name it, no? Lahat ng advantage ng incumbent sa kanila. And yet, ang nailamang nila, 1,000 votes lang. So, doon ko nakita na ang San Juan handa na talaga para sa pagbabago. No? Yung sinasabing pagbabago, minsan, gas-gas na yan. Cliché na yung pagbabago. But, if you're coming from a 49-year rule,
change makes sense.
Kaya ngayon, malaking bagay because when I won, eventually, in 2019, I won. After losing in 2016, I won in 2019. I beat the daughter of Senator Jinggoy Estrada, and that signaled the downfall of their family here in San Juan. It was also the first time that people were able to compare. Right. Dati kasi walang comparison eh. Parang pag nasanay ka na, yung buhay sa San Juan, ganito. Akala mo, ito na yung pinakamaganda. Akala mo, okay dito. No? But, pag masubukan mo yung iba at makita mo, okay pala. Bakit ngayon sa ilalim ni Mayor Zamora, wala nang binabayaran sa public hospital? O bakit ngayon yung mga basketball court, kahoy na yung sahig, wooden covered basketball court na? Bakit 1:1 ang tablets kada public school student? Bakit may fiber optic internet connection sa bahay ng mga public school students? No? Bakit ngayon libre ang cremation, libre ang burol? These are things na hindi nila nagagawa dati. Which nung nandito na tayo, ginawa natin. And people would say, pwede naman pala. I'm a very hands-on mayor. I'm very active, lalo na on the ground. No? Election man o hindi, kampanya o hindi, consistent ako sa sarili ko, sa pag-ikot, sa pag-attend ng mga functions. No? And people really saw the difference. And siguro, again, coming from a 49-year rule, tapos here comes someone new, someone fresh, di ba? Bago, kakaiba. Hindi ito yung nakasanayan nila. So, binoto tayo. 2022 was a lot easier. In fact, 15-0 tayo rito. Pinanalo natin lahat ng positions. So, they fielded an Estrada against my sister who ran for Congress. Talo pa rin sila. So, doon mo makikita na-validate yung unang term. Kasi pwedeng manalo ka, pero pag hindi ka naman perform, matatalo ka after. Diba? But the fact that we won 15-0 is a validation of the trust and confidence of the people of San Juan in our administration.
That's a big statement, Mayor. And that's good to hear, Mayor. At mas makilala pa po natin si Mayor Francis Zamora sa pagbabalik ng The Chatroom.
PTV Consumer Watch, bantay presyo sa gasolina.
Nagbabalik ang The Chatroom. Kasama pa rin po natin San Juan City Mayor Francis Zamora. Sir, on being the Mayor of San Juan, I would just like to ask, bakit po sa tingin nyo kayo ang pinili ng taong bayan ng San Juan? No? And what do you think caused that? No? What do you think it is within the San Juan people that made you mayor?
Well, Miko, I served as councilor for 3 years. I served as vice mayor for 6 years. I ran for mayor in 2016, but even if I lost, I was the de facto mayor of half of San Juan. And I did not stop. Ang pinaka battle cry ko sa sarili ko, Francis never stops. So pinapanindigan ko talaga yan. That's something I developed while I was still an athlete. We would experience losing championships, but in the end, you stand up and fight again. So after losing in 2016, I did not stop. In fact, I was very, very determined and motivated to win it in 2019, especially after seeing the desire of the people of San Juan for change. So, hindi ako tumigil. At iba kasi kapag very driven ka as a mayor. No? Some mayors may just go to the office, to City Hall, just to go through the motions. Pero iba yung passion mo talaga na ayusin yung lungsod, umikot ka, tingnan mo ano bang problema. No? My strength really comes from my passion. I don't consider this as a job. It is a passion. Once you look at your roles and responsibilities this way, hindi ka mapapagod kasi nag-enjoy ka. Lalo na yung, alam mong, yung ginagawa mo, nakaka-apekto sa buhay ng isang tao. No? I have encountered so many times people crying, and they will tell me, Mayor, maraming salamat. Yung nanay kong may cancer, natutulungan ninyo. No? Yung ganong pakaramdam na alam mong may nagawa kang mabuti sa kanya, it will really drive you, no? Push you to continue. So if you ask me why the people of San Juan elected me, I believe they see in me the kind of mayor that they deserve. Wala pa tayong ginagawang anumang masama. I can honestly say that. Wala pa tayong ginagawang kahit anong masama sa ating mga mamamayan. I have always been fair and just. I always look after the best interest and the general welfare of our people. Masipag po ako, alam nila yan. I go out of my way to be able to get things done for San Juan. I don't just rely on what we have in terms of local funds. I build networks with the national government, with the organizations that can help us. So you have to really think out of the box. Siguro yun ang advantage ko bilang isang batang mayor. No? Iba ako mag-isip, hindi yung traditional na, pag sabihin mayor, ito na lang yun, para nakakahon na eh. Ako hindi. Naghahanap ako ng ibang paraan para makatulong. No?
Tsaka sir, halata naman sa lahat ng awards nyo, tsaka ng plaques nyo dito sa office nyo, sir. And you're doing something definitely really, really good. Sir, I just wanted to ask, kasi we have a list here of some concerns, issues online, and we would like to get your clarification, comments on certain issues.
Okay.
So the first issue, Mayor, is the challenge of making San Juan River cleaner.
Yes, gusto natin talagang linisan ng San Juan River. But again, I will make it clear. San Juan River is 9 kilometers long. Pero ang portion ng San Juan dyan, 1.8 kilometers lang. Nagkataon lang na tinawag siyang San Juan River. Parang Pasig River. Ang Pasig River dumadaan sa ibang mga city, pero ang pangalan niya Pasig River. So what do we need to do? Well, one, we have to really coordinate with Quezon City, with Mandaluyong, because we share the San Juan River. Isa yan sa mga bagay na pinagtutuunan natin ng pansin. In fact, DNR has launched its cleanup drives during my first term. Ganun din yung Manila Water. No? So, like what I was saying earlier, we would always tie up with the national government agencies, departments, businesses, NGOs to be able to clean up. Meron din kami program dyan yung, if you have heard of yung mga bokashi balls. These are microorganisms that you throw into the river and it cleans the water. So isa yan sa ating mga pinagtutuunan ng pansin. But again, we cannot do it alone. We will need to dredge the San Juan River, and a city cannot afford to dredge on its own kasi billions and billions ng pondo yan. So we will really need the national government to help us, ang MMDA, ang DPWH, at ang DNR. So we are exerting all efforts to be able to clean up our rivers.
Sir, the second issue here is buhol-buhol na kable ng kuryente sa San Juan.
Nung unang term ko, kasunduan na ako sa mga telcos, no? Yung mga cable companies. What you see, hindi yan kuryente. Mga ano yan, mga, let's say, Globe, Smart, PLDT, Sky Cable. These are mostly unutilizable. Ito yung mga luma na. So, constantly, no, nag-iikot sila sa iba't ibang barangay kasama ang Meralco. Although hindi naman puro Meralco ang wires na yun. Inaano na sila. They are tying them together para hindi na siya nakalaylay. No? It'll take some time kasi yes, napakarami. At inaamin ko naman. Kaya nga ang launching niyan ako mismo ang nanguna. Pinutol natin yung ibang mga hindi na kinakailangan ng mga wires dyan. So give us some time. We should be able to continue our cleaning up of what we call nga yung spaghetti wires.
Yeah. Sir, ito naman, yung relationship with the Estradas na banggit niyo na kanina, you had a little bit of a falling out. But sir, what we wanted to ask is, how would you spare the City Hall employees from political rivalries?
Wala naman tayong dinadamay na City Hall employees. Remember, no? Most of my department heads now are former Estrada department heads. Probably 90% of employees here in City Hall are former Estrada employees. Yung mga barangay captain, yung mga kagawad, yung mga SK, mga dating Estrada supporters. No? Pero how come San Juan is performing well? Ibig sabihin, kahit na sabihin mong Estrada supporter sila dati, pero pag mapakita mo naman sa kanila na, si Mayor masibag naman, si Mayor mabait, si Mayor malalapitan. No? Eventually, magiging Zamora supporter sila. And that's politics. Ang politics is addition. Magdadagdag ka, hindi magbabawas. Kung dati, ito yung boto na nakuha ko, ito lang yung solid Zamora. Pag makuha ko yung mga Estrada, ito ang magiging resulta. So I was able to get the highest vote ever in any San Juan election. No? Kumbaga, in the history of San Juan elections, yung boto na nakuha ko was the highest ever. And the fact that we won 15-0, that means yung mga dating Estrada, nag-Zamora na. Yan ang outlook ko in terms of politics. Kapag hindi siya Zamora, let's say Estrada, dalawa lang naman yan Zamora or Estrada ka dito sa San Juan. Kapag Estrada supporter ka, I will do my best para makita mo na, dapat mag-Zamora na ako. Hindi yung aawayin mo sila. Because pag aawayin mo sila, hindi mo talaga sila makukuha. It's simple mathematics.
At huwag po kayong bibitiw, magbabalik pa ang The Chatroom.
Hindi lang sila basta guro sa silid-aralan. Kaibigan silang malalapitan sa oras ng pangangailangan. Magulang na umaakay sa tamang landas ng buhay. Mga bayaning tagapagtaguyod ng magandang kinabukasan.
Salamat sa mahalagang papel na inyong ginagampanan para sa kabataan at sa bayan.
At nagbabalik po ang The Chatroom, still with Mayor Francis Zamora of San Juan. Mayor, napag-usapan ho natin yung plano niyo po to open up the economy, lalong-lalo na we're almost at the end, hopefully at the end of the COVID pandemic. Ano po ba yung ibang tinututukan natin na problema, issue sa San Juan dito sa term natin?
Sa totoo lang, wala naman tayong masasabing malaking problema dito sa San Juan. But of course, yung overall governance natin, we will continue to elevate. No? Hindi pwedeng hanggang dito na lang tayo. Kailangan there's always something new, something different. Like what I said, our basketball courts before used to be concrete, no? Puro semento. Ngayon, isa-isa na nagiging wooden covered basketball court. Kung ano yung kahoy sa MOA Arena at sa Araneta Coliseum, yun ang kahoy ng aming public schools, basketball courts, yun ang kahoy ng aming barangay basketball courts. So these are things that we want to do. Elevate, no? Further. Kailangan nating mag-angat, no? Ng antas ng pamumuhay ng bawat San Juaneno. So there's no real specific problems, but it's basically just continuing to elevate our overall governance in San Juan.
Sa gandang mga basketball courts, dito manggagana lahat ng next PBA players natin.
Marami akong PBA player na
galing dito.
Yung sports development here in San Juan will always benefit from the fact that ako ay isang atleta, may mga konsel tayo mga atleta. So, malaking bagay para sa aming kabataan kasi ako, I understand how it is to be an athlete. Gusto ko, no, Miko, yung mga public school students natin, yung mga kabataan natin sa barangay, gusto ko maranasan nila yung naranasan ko rin na makapag UAAP, no? Muntik na tayo mag-PBA. No? Gusto ko maranasan nila yan. Gusto ko maranasan ng ating public school students na ang facilities nila pang private school. In fact, maraming mga dating private school students lumipat na sa aming public schools kasi may tablet, may internet. No? So, totoo yan. Tumaas ang aming enrollment when we opened our, we call it the Makabagong San Juan Smart City on Education program. So, naglipatan sila from private schools.
At magbabalik pa ang The Chatroom.
Numbers, facts, insightful analyses, and context on information for a better perspective.
Developing stories in the country and around the world. The most current news and issues that are relevant to today's times.
Get a rundown of it all every night, only here on PTV News Tonight.
Nagbabalik po ang The Chatroom at kasama pa rin natin San Juan City Mayor Francis Zamora. Sir, I just wanted to ask one thing. Ano po ang long-term goal ho natin dito sa San Juan?
Kung ako tatanungin mo, syempre gusto kong maging the premier city, not just in Metro Manila, but of course in the country. And that is what we are pushing for. We may be small, but yung pag-angat ng antas ng buhay ng bawat San Juaneno dito ay nararamdaman. No? At yung makabagong San Juan na aming sinisigaw at sinasabuhay, no? It will always be our driving force. No? That we always will continue to innovate. We will always think of new things to improve governance. No? We will not stop here. No? We will continue to raise the bar of public service. No? People deserve the best from government. And I want San Juan to always be a good example. No? Gusto ko sana ang San Juan, parang pag San Juan, magandang pamamalakad. O sa San Juan, ang public schools nila, ganito ang mga pasilidad. O San Juan, number 1 sa bakuna. No? Gusto kong makilala ang aming lungsod na nangunguna sa maayos na pamamalakad. No?
Sir, and with that, marami pong salamat sa papag-unlock natin dito sa The Chatroom. Thank you, sir. It's been an honor.
Okay, maraming salamat din, Miko. Thank you for this opportunity. I enjoyed na definitely. Medyo madaldal at makwento lang ako. But
Maganda ho yun.
doon yung nakikita na galing sa puso lahat ang sinasabi ko. Because it comes with being hands-on. I know everything that's happening and whatever we do each and every day comes from the fact that I'm passionate with what I'm doing as Mayor of San Juan. So maraming salamat sa inyong pagdalaw at sa mga nanonood. Sana nag-enjoy kayo sa interview ito. At sana na ibahagi ko rin yung konti tungkol sa aking sarili at sa aming lungsod ng San Juan.
Thank you, sir. Bilang responsableng mamamayan, mahalagang magkaroon tayo ng malawak na kaalaman tungkol sa pamahalaan at sa mga pangyayari sa ating bansa. Kaya naman, ugaliing tumutok dito sa The Chatroom. Ako po si Attorney Miko Clavano. Magandang gabi, Pilipinas.